Renee Loux Underkoffler, 24 years old, turning 25 on September 4th. And my occupation is, I'm involved very much in vibrancy and living, specifically live foods and rejuvenation, cleansing, of course with the lifestyles that surround the diet. I always believe the diet is far more than what goes into our mouths. It's what we think, our company, conversations, what we choose to have around us. Yes. So the Raw Experience restaurant was in Paia, which is a very sweet little North Shore town on Hawaii, on Maui. And it's a pretty simple town, very nice, great health food store. And the restaurant was a cafe restaurant. It sat a bit less than 30, probably, maybe 20 something. And we did everything from juices and smoothies and, of course, fresh wheatgrass, salads. I did incredible desserts, which is one of my passions there. We did entrees, and we really did the whole gamut of foods there. And I taught classes there weekly, and it was really a wonderful place because it gave people a place to come to join and see that something was going on, to go get a fresh juice, to perhaps meet someone, who is a cohort in health. And we had a great library of books there about health and rejuvenation. And that was a really big part of our mission, was to educate and to provide a model of lifestyle, a place where people could come. And the education was what I think really drew a lot of people. It was wonderful, Maui being such an international hub, that we encountered incredible amount of people from literally all over the world who had heard about us, stumbled upon us, were referenced to us. And so it was really a wonderful way for all of us to continue to network and work together. I would say most people were thrilled with the idea that food that was good for them could actually be enjoyable and delight them. And of course, living on the islands, we have a tremendous abundance of fresh produce and fruits, of course, you can imagine. So we did have a lot to work with, especially it being year-round. People were pretty much year-round ready for foods that were fresh and delightful and light. And it was really amazing, people who would come in and say that they felt their lives had changed by being introduced to this, by the concept of this, or having had a food that was so simply delicious. They couldn't imagine that something so simple and unrefined could be so delightful. So that was very rewarding to see, really. Well, living food seems to work for everybody if they meet it where they are. We're all in evolution, we're all transitioning one direction or another. We decide where we're going with it. And live food seems to be a piece of the puzzle to really true living, to being vibrant, to feeling alive, to maintaining vitality. It seems to work to some degree for everybody. It's not fair to say that that one thing would work for everybody. If that were the case, we would all be healed. There's 6.5 billion of us in maybe that many ways, but it seems that food that is fresh and organic, enzymatically live, charges the body. And that is really but a part of the picture. It's an important part of the picture because it's part of the ground we walk on. We need food. We are what we eat. What we consume becomes us. We literally build our bodies from what we're taking in our mouths. Now, I know that we build our bodies from more than that. We build our lives from the love that we have, the enjoyment we get out of life, the joy in life. It's far beyond food, but food is something that everyone can grasp. Everyone eats. It's a way in. It's a way in to find a true happiness. I very much see that on the other side of physical rejuvenation and replenishment is a spiritual rejuvenation and replenishment, and that and an emotional piece as well. And they really do all fit together. And so eating well opens that door for people. But for me, it's a wonderful way to begin the conversation. it's within our world. You know, it's not as ethereal as meditation or even yoga for many people. It's something that they are going to do 3 times a day, and if they make a change with it, they will see a significant change. Undoubtedly, it works. It's a turnkey situation. So I find it to be ultimately successful with the right mindset, of course. Living foods it rejuvenates everybody. It really does. Well, I think that the biggest rewards have really come from, a trust and a leap of faith in a lot of directions. And for my own self, my interest in getting into live foods became as, a natural inclination, my own draw to, after having, being a vegetarian and just the stages of refining my diet, it was what I was just drawn to. And when I came upon books and literature and was introduced to, thank God, introduced to this wonderful world, it changed my life. And for me, it took really a leap of faith to believe that that would be true for me. And I did. And that's a hard thing, because we're raised, in these institutions with our families, with the medical, doctrines, with the government telling us certain truths that we're just raised to believe. And what it is it's a prison that we can't even see or taste or touch, because it's all around us. And we want to believe that they are giving us the truth. I think that humans have that, faith that, yes, of course, why would it be a lie? And I don't believe that it's a vindictive thing necessarily. I think it's a very complicated issue, how our society has become so really damaged by such an adulterized lifestyle. But it can be healed, and a lot of it is a trust. It is a leap of faith. So many of these laws, these scientific laws, these empirical studies that have been laid down to us. I think of one of the original laws of physics, nothing can be created nor destroyed, only changed. And this was true. This was carved in stone. And then Einstein came along, E = mc squared, and revolutionized everything. And it showed. I mean, that's a great example. There you go. Energy can be created. And so I think it is worth it to question, and to look and take inventory in what they are telling us. There are slivers of truth, just as in, all doctrines. There's some information that's truth in there. Stereotypes are formed because of, things have been looked over and extracted and adulterized, but there are truths to be had in this. And so I think that we do have the capacity to make that leap of faith and really transform, have a radical transformation through health. I know I came to be interested in living foods not because I was terribly sick or terribly unhealthy. I was able to heal an anemic condition that I was predisposed to, but I really came at this because I want to just juice life. I want it all. I want to stay young and feeling young in my heart. Well, I think a lot of health in general, when a lot of our senses can be deadened by our diet, our lifestyle, and which goes into, sensual stimulation. When you are eating live foods, when you're celebrating life, exercising, meditating, feeling good throughout your entire body. Oh, it's just a celebration on really all levels, and there is no holding back. There need not be. The program's fallen away. It's like the threshold breaks, and there's just a wonderful celebration of our senses. With menstruation in women, I see so much that in a way, it's a issue that really isn't discussed. It's like bowel movements. People don't want to talk about these very human functions that all of us are experiencing. Well, all women should be experiencing menstruation in a period of their life. And it needs to really be exposed and expressed and liberated. We need to be free and comfortable with it. When we become comfortable with ourselves, and we can really experience and enjoy and celebrate life. you know, not necessarily by the dictations of the institutions that we so faithfully have given our trust to. Not that they're vindictive or evil. You know, this world has a lot of dysfunctional structure within it. You know, our governments, our schooling systems need incredible improvement. We need help on all fronts. And a lot of that initiates from a personal freedom, personal liberation. And I really see so much that live foods and living foods is a part of that. It's a liberation from the supermarket to eating out of your garden. And if that's an extreme example, well, maybe you're just consuming less packaging. You know, maybe you have the freedom with the ability to walk to the store or park your car and walk amongst stores and not be crippled by a dilapidating disease. It has to do with, you know, really finding a freedom in ourselves to trust ourselves, to know that our intuit will guide us. And that's a very difficult thing for many people. We very much are a society who has the TV on when no one else is home because we want company. And look at what that very thing is feeding. You know, a lot of this media propaganda is contributing to the very prison that encompasses us that we cannot even sense because it is just instilled. We've been brought up with that, and there is a liberation from that. And it's a lifelong process, and it isn't linear, and no one can hand you that. No one can give you that sliver of knowledge other than your own self and your own ability to teach through your own actions. You know, I can show you how to make one of the most delicious raw food, desserts, living foods, no refined or oils or sugars that you can imagine, but this is the gift. You know, this living, breathing being that I'm experiencing is the gift. I wake up every day with joy. This is it, and it hasn't always been the case. I see it again and again with so many people. They begin to make a change in their diet, which is an accessible way to start, and it becomes them. It becomes the beginning of a liberation, which has to do with the true freedom, which is it is our right. It is our birthright. Well, in a way, I think that the ritual and the whole experience of menstruation is a very safe harbor for women. It's a time, if they do have this painful or uncomfortable time every month, that they can take to themselves, that maybe they need to take a day off of work, that they need a day of rest. I mean, that's a very safe harbor that we should be taking anyway. It doesn't have to be, we don't need to give ourselves attention from a negative fashion. You know, we can take a day to celebrate because we deserve it, or because we know that it is what's going to enable us to function in the world, to give back to the world much more. So I think that there is a lot of emotion tied in with menstruation. It's something that has bonded us to all other females that we saw maybe our mothers mysteriously go through when we were children, and a way that we may have bonded with her, our righthood to real womanhood, and eventually our avenue to life-giving, our very monitor that will, our very barometer that will enable us to give the gift of life. So there is so very much tied up with that emotionally, sociologically. It goes on and on. Physiologically, I mean, it's just it's a wonderfully dynamic issue that women can celebrate with each other. And I think that that very harbor of retreat for that time of menstruation can be really replaced with a celebration that need not be about suffering. It can be about liberation. And that you can bleed. I bleed, just not very much. I don't have cramps. You know, I have a vivacious appetite for, you know, sensual stimulation, which I both choose to harness and in different ways. You know, yoga has really taught me a lot about that, about channeling energy in my body, about you know, unleashing that and harnessing it and creating a very cycle of my own cycle. and it has to do with breath and movement. It has to do with, and all of that really requires a comfortable relationship with our very vehicle, a vibrancy in our very cells, and then we can really be in symphony. Our cells can be in symphony when they're working together, rather than an alien, a foreign confusion. Well, I really want to give a thanks to a specific person. I really want to thank Annie Jubb for being an incredible inspiration in my life, and a reason to know that it really is an unending adventure to health. And I think that she has touched so many people and really deserves to be celebrated by all of us. And I wish her the best success in all dimensions. So I've co-written a book with Jeremy Safran, who we started the Raw Experience restaurant in Maui together, and it's entirely live foods. There's a wonderful section to explain and introduce a lot of foods, seaweeds, and all the many different kinds of fruits and herbs, to sort of demystify that and open up the awareness of how many varieties there are, and an incredible selection of live foods recipes. The chocolate mousse pie has been probably one of the biggest crowd pleasers, both at the Raw Experience restaurant, privately, publicly, on all levels. It's a wonderful, creamy mousse pie that has converted many a chocoholic away from a lot of refined sugar and many other substances, and is really just so delicious and pleasing and succulent to the senses that I'm certain that you will enjoy it as much as I personally do. So there really is a nice selection, again, of recipes that are very easy, that take 30 seconds in the blender, ones that might take dehydration and sprouting, might take some time, and really a wonderful selection for most anyone to begin to grasp.